All right. Good day, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I'm about to start a session where I will be taking you guys on the process of creating an Azure SQL database and to use it for your MVC project. So as part of your assessment, this is what you required. I know we need to use queues, files, tables, and I'm not sure what's the other one, but I think it's 4 things that they need for this project. I'm not going to do that unless if I manage to finish this within few hours, then I'll be able to take the same project and incorporate your tables, your queues, your files, and the other one I forgot. I don't know why I forgot. I think it's multimedia, if I'm not mistaken. Blob storage, yes. So I'll see at the end. But for now, I'm going to start this from scratch. I know from the previous session for my group, we progressed a bit. I just want to give you a point of reference without cutting the video. So let me just go back to the scenario. Let me just share my screen and then I'll go back. So here's the problem that we are presented that we must be able to solve at the end of this project. So we are required to build a very simple e-commerce shop, and this website or solution should be able to sell different cars. So we are required to use an MVC for that, and our database should be an Azure SQL. So they further state that our website must be able to show like a catalog, a list of cars that we have, excuse me, and each car must be accompanied with an image so that users they can see what they want to buy, a description of that car, and also the price. So any person who sees can be able to see the catalog without authentication. But if you want to add the car or buy the car, which goes to a shopping cart, and then you'll be required to sign in. So in terms of payment, we are just going to simulate this. There won't be any real payment because it's not required and it's out of the scope. And then the roles, we're going to have 2 roles. We're going to have a manager who works for this e-commerce, will be able to load the cars. And for simplicity, I'm going to scaffold the crude functionalities. And then the manager will be able to view all the cars that have been bought and also the users who have been registered into this particular website or e-commerce. And then the default landing page should be the catalog. That one you can change if you don't like it. So we will be using sessions to store into our shopping cart and entity framework code for data access and be able to deploy our database into Azure SQL. So I hope that is fine and understandable. So what we need to do at this stage is to hit straight into our Azure portal. So you can just sign in there and you can just use the student provided details for you to do that. All right. So the first thing that we need to do, I'm not going to create a resource group, but if you don't have it, you'll need to create one because it's needed. But because we have one that has been created for us, I'll just leave it like that. So the next step that I'll do is to create the database that they want. So you'll go straight to the search bar, and then you can go and type SQL databases or SQL or database. It will pop up. And then you'll use this one there that says Azure SQL database. You'll click it, and then you'll be brought into this screen. So you don't have to worry much about all of this. There's 2 areas that you need to focus, but does the same thing. You can see there is this create button. There is this create button there. Either one of them will assist you to create a database. So just click create. Okay. So because of the package that we've been assigned, the normal way of creating will not work. It's going to give you an error, and I'll just want to go through that error so that you guys can be able to solve it in case you come across that. So go there and say subscription will remain with that, and then the source group, it's already been created for us. I'll just select it, and then we are required to have a database. So let's call this I valued as DB, or anything that you can remember. And then you'll see that the second step there, we are required to create a saver. So borrowing from your first year where you were taught what is a saver, just want to give you a bit of a reminder. Remember that a saver, it is like a computer or a software that its job is to provide resources, could be data or services to other computers over a network. So our database will be stored inside of this saver, and that's the one that's going to give us all these resources that we want. So let's go and give it a descriptive name. So just there, and then let's give it a saver name. Let's say high valued. Let's say a saver name can only contain lower cases. But I don't have that. Just remove the dash there. I valued server, that should be fine. All right, the location, it is best to choose ours, which is South Africa North, but if it doesn't work, you can go and select the other one. You can test them over and over to see which one will work. And then you'll use SQL authentication. Then there you're going to create the username. So I'll call this I valued admin. And then I will need a password. Call this a if I remember this password, you can see that it doesn't match. There we go. Right, let me store this password somewhere. Not that it's my real password, but I will need it later on. So let me just do that. Just give me a second. I'll just say and perfect. All right, and then you click OK. And then when you get to this part, you tick no there and leave it for deployment. And then you go for locally, and then you can just create it. And then you click create. Okay, this is what I was talking about, that I want to show you this error because the package that we have does not allow us. The issue is on this guy. So let's go back. Sorry. Go back to basics, and then we'll go back. So compute plus storage, you're going to click configure database. And then when you get to this part, which is the first one, service tier, click the drop down, and then you want to work under DTU, then choose basic. Then you click OK for me. And then after that, you'll click this button that says configure database. Yeah, I'm going back and back there, so that should be fine. Let's see if that solves the error. Then we click create. And you have to wait. Seems like we passed our initial stage, so we should be fine now. Okay, I'm just gonna wait until it finish. So while it's busy doing that, so we need to go and add our IP address into our server so that we can be able to use it. So as you know that your IP addresses will change as you change your network or location, depending on the set of your internet at home. So every time you have to do what I'm about to do now. So I'm just waiting for this thing to finish deploying. And then we can go to our server name and add the IP address of my machine there. So wherever there is some personal information, I'll try to blur them when I share this video with you guys, because I'm planning on putting it on YouTube. So I will do that a bit. But if not, if I put it on our school Wi-Fi, then I'll just leave it like that. Okay, let's give it a second. Kind of take some time a bit. This should give you an idea that you shouldn't leave this assignment towards the end or the day of submission. You should be able to start now without you starting on the day of submission. And you can just create this and then just leave it, and then you can do your assignment, your final exam, bit by bit. Okay, it's done. So you can see that I can see my server dot, it's not there. This is the one that I created the last session. I don't want that. I'm pretty sure I didn't call it. I don't want to use it because I know I'm going to get an error. So I need to get, and I deleted this before I started, but it's fine. I think I called it I valued. If I'm not, there we go. So if you're starting from scratch, please pay attention to that because you might get an error. So I know that I didn't create for that. So the next step that I need to do is to add my IP address to this network. So you notice that I click the server. Let me just go back and do it again. I want to grab it. And then I'll go under networking where it says show networking settings. And then you want to select this one under public. And then you can see down there under firewall rules, you can see my IP address there. I'll just click this. I'll have to blur this out. And then I'll just change this and say home laptop. Or you can call it anything you want. The reason I'm giving a name because if it changes, I'll have to come here and do it again. Then you can tick this box and click save. This won't take time. All right, so we'll come back later on because we're supposed to get connection string, but I'm not worried about that now because it has some personal info, like the password that I created. So I'll need to change it or to hide it. So I'm just gonna do that towards the end. So now what we need to do is to start our project. Okay, so everything is fine now. You go straight to Visual Studio, and then you're going to start a new project for me. Okay, it will be MVC as the requirement. Then let's call this high valued high valued cars online. I think that should be fine. Okay, the framework I'll remain with .NET 9. I'm not sure if number 10 it is fine at this stage, but if it is, then you can use it. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, apologies for that. So I was saying that for now, I'm not sure, I've not tried that one. So if you guys want to try it, you can go ahead and use it. But I think 9 will be fine for now. So let's just go. And then the only thing is that we need to have authentication. So I'll just select individual account. Then I'll just click OK there. Okay, I'm not going to go through this to show you guys how it works when you run it. I believe we are all comfortable with that one. So we're just going to go straight with our application without even doing anything further. So the first thing that I want to do is to extend my registration, which is identity user. So I'm just going to keep it simple for now. So I will want to tweak my registration later on if in case you guys want to allow the user to select a role. I know it's not ideal for industry, but for now, let's just keep it like that. So inside of my module, I'll create one class. We'll pick up the pace because we are comfortable with MVC. It's only the areas that I know that we didn't do much that I will slow down. So I'm going to call this application user. This is solely used to extend your identity user. So what we're going to do here is that I'm going to extend identity user, as I said, and then I'll just have one property for now. I'm not going to use it until it's needed. So this will be called full name. This is to ensure that later on we don't come across issues when we have to change our application. All right, so now I'll go back to my program.cs so that I can finish up setting it up. So just move this, let me to reduce the size. I think I'll go with 120. Hopefully you guys can be able to see that. All right. So there's a couple of things that we need to do here. The beauty of it is that identity has given us a connection string. We don't have to do it ourselves. So the only thing that I will want to do now is to add a database developer. It's called database developer page exception filter. So this will just, I'm not sure if it's added. Let me just see there. No, oh yeah, it's there. So that is fine. So now let's go, and I'm going to switch off the confirmation email now, which is what I'll suggest, because I'm going to seed in the credentials of a manager. If you don't this, you don't switch it off, you'll have to go into the database and you go and change it there. So I don't want to do that. So I'll just set this to false so that I don't have to confirm registration. So now you can see this part there. Let me push this one down. So click there and then push it down so that you can pass in, you can add your role there. So it adds role manager because this will be needed by the manager credentials that we are going to seed in. So you just say dot add roles. You can see with the angle brackets that it's expecting you to pass something inside there, which will be identity user, and then you're going to put your brackets there as a constructor, and then you just leave it like that. So that is important, guys. Please make sure that you have that one. And then below this one, since we're going to use sessions, so we're going to add those services here. This will be used for our shopping cart. So you can just go and register this service. It's a builder dot services dot add session. And yellow, you know the drill, that's a method, and then you just close it. All right. So you scroll down, and then here, since we'll be dealing with files, you'll need that as well. You can also use static files. And then lastly, app.authentication. Please don't forget to add those ones. That is very important. All right, so we were told that the landing page should be catalog. So we're just going to do that, or we change it there, catalog. And then the action will be, I'll call it index, so we don't have to change much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to seed in the manager role there, and I'm going to create the login details, all I need, and then I'll use dependency injection scope, resolve managers to be able to create a role or a user if they are missing, so that the manager can log in immediately without us needing to register that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll just say using there, and then we close, and then we close like that. So let's go and create a variable that we call it scope. And then we're going to inject our services. So we'll say app.service services.create scope. Turned yellow once again. I should tell you that that's a method. All right, so let's start with defining a variable for a role manager. So we'll just say role r, and then we'll say role, mgr for manager. Then we assign scope dot service provider dot get required service. And then we are requested to pass in a type there. The type could be the role manager. It also needs a type there as well, which will be identity manager. Identity, not identity manager, that will be identity role. Okay, then we're going to do the same. So we're going to say role manager. I'll do that because IntelliSense is given. I just want to verify. We're passing in user manager and then there, which is something that I forgot. We'll go back and fix it. Application user, there at the top. So remember that we have a custom field that we need to add. So we are going to switch that guy and then we pass application user there. Very important. Very, very important. I'll also show you guys there's one area that needs to be changed, but we'll do that towards the end, not now, so that we don't come across issues. All right. Let's go back. We are not done. So now we need to create an array. The users for now, because it's one, we have one user. But as you need, if you want to see more, you can create more. So just create a string array. String. Oh, I can't even write string. What will be string? Is an array. And then we're going to name these guys roles. So this is the guy that is going to hold the different types of roles that we have. For this time, we only need one to keep it short. So because it's a string, I need to supply value there. I'll keep it neat. And then as we are required, we'll call this manager. That is perfect. And then now we need to go through and check if this role exists. If it does not exist, then we're going to create a new role. So I'm going to use a loop, which is for each. Okay. And then we'll say var r for roles. And so we're going to loop through to check the roles that we just defined in our array. And then we say if I'll keep it neat. If not, I'll get an error now. I'll wait, but we'll fix it. Role manager, role exists as sync. And then remember the R variable now, it's the one that it's an object name that is used to loop through. If that if it does not exist, so we want it to create a new role, which will be create a sync. Then that's about right. Okay, I'm surprised we're not getting an error because it changed it by itself. So please pay attention that yours might say public static void main here or something like that. So you might not see these guys. If you don't see them, please go and add remove void in front of static, add async and task. So it did it for me, which is good. So okay. So now we'll tap out from our for each statement. Now we're going to create a username for our manager. So we can say, I'll take that. So we'll say admin email and then I don't need that. That is complicated. I'll just want to keep it basic. And then I can create an email. I can say manager at hi velut.com, something like that. So email. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are able to find this guy. So I'll keep it like that. Admin away to user.find by email. So that is fine. So just in case it does not find it, so we'll just say if she's gonna go through. I wanna keep. We've done this, so that's why I'm moving a little bit faster. If admin is null, okay, so we are going to say admin user, which we don't have it, and then the username will be an email, and then an email will be an email, and then full name. Yeah, let me just insert myself there. Then you provide a name there, so that will be file sharp. And then after that, we will need a password. So yeah, I think it has done that for me. I create a sync, so this will save as a password. Then the last thing that I need to do is to add that role, which is a manager. So you save this for me, that is important. And then all you need to do now is to go here into the folder of data. We're going to create our tables that we need for this application. So double click application DB context, and then here inside in front of identity DB context, please go and pass in application user. So you see that it does not see that one. So quick fix for that will be to get our models so that they are visible there. Okay, other than that, there's nothing much there that you need to do. Now it's just to create our tables. So I'll do this. So I anticipate that we're gonna need 3 tables here. So we'll need a table for cars. So I'm going to use a property the same way as we define a property, but I'll use dbset, which will map the car model to a table. And then entity framework will use that to perform queries or to save the different cars there. So I'm just going to do it differently, but it's the same thing. Please don't be alarmed. So that's the first one, table. Then we need order, which is the same thing. And then we will also need order items. So it's public be set. We haven't created these models now, so don't worry, we'll create them after here. And then I'm just going to use an arrow function, which is the same. So I'll just set this to car. Just going to do all of them just like this. You can use dbset, it's still fine. Set 3 of them. And then the second one will be order. Orders. Order. And then the other one will be order item. And then that will be other items. I'll copy this, paste it there. Okay. So for now, we just have to go and create all of these model classes that will represent our table. So I'll right click there and I'll start. And then let's do the first one. It has to be the same as car. Okay, and then let's do some properties. I'll keep it very, 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 very short. Or I'll just move a little bit faster. So this is the table that will store the different cars there. The first thing that you will need to have a primary key. So we'll leave it like that. That is fine. Let me see. I think it's giving me what I want. I need the make, that is there. I need the model, that is there. I don't need a year. You can add it as well. Let me just take what it just gave me. I'll just delete what I don't need. The reason that it gave me is because I have a similar project here. Just doing it again, just for the sake of this video. So, okay. So we'll need a car, and then, because that's one we'll need to display. So we'll just set the model, and then the make there as well. You can add the date. It's up to you how you want to do it. And then that is done. I'll go to the second one. And then the second one will be order. Let's see if we can pull it off again. Okay, so the other one will be used is for checkout. I think the date here will be appropriate. So we are going to create a relationship to our table here. So this one will have one-to-many with other items. So one order can have different types of other items. Then the manager can view the sales. So we'll need, just see, we need an ID that is perfect. And then I'll need the date where it's created. So I can just say created. And then let me set these to date now. So it can give me that. And then I will need the buyer. Let me see. I don't need that. It's ugly. Okay. I need a buyer's name. So prop tab. Then that will be string. Okay. And then we can call this buyer email. And then this member, it's optional. No, in real life should not be optional because this is the email that the user will be registered. And then we will need the buyer's name, prop string. Let's say buyer name. And then this will be optional again. And then that will be total. That is perfect. That will be the sum of the total. We will use this particularly in our controller. So what we need to do now is to provide a navigation that will give us the details. Remember, we have a relationship one-to-many, so order will have different types of order items. So let me just do that. Yeah, it has done that, except here that I want to use the I collection. My collection, then I'll pass other item. I'll name this other item, that is fine. And then that should be okay for now. And I'm getting an error because we don't have this guy now. So that tells us that we should do that next. Add class, then other item. Let's go back and see if the error is gone. There we go. So now, so this should have a foreign key of order and car, because in order to have like an order item, you must know the car, you must know the order. So we'll first start with its primary key. I'll take that and then I'll go through each one to see. So the order ID, this is a foreign key that comes from the order. Please note that I didn't call it order ID, it knows, because there are 3 different ways that you can classify or order a primary key or foreign key. can either use ID like I did there, it will know it, or alternatively, you take the name of the class and you add it with ID, it will know, or you can use data annotation to say key or foreign key. I will highly recommend that avoid using foreign key, just leave it like this, it will know by itself. Okay, so we need to navigate to the parent order. I don't need it to be nullable. So because we need it to the parent class, which is order. And then car ID, the same thing that I just explained. This is a foreign key. And then, so what we need to do here is that we can, well, I just remove that. Let's set this to null. In the cleanest way, it's doing it like this. Then it should work also the question mark of this. That's the same thing. All right, it's okay. All right, and then we'll need quantity, which is okay. And then we'll need the unit price. And then lastly, we'll need the total. And the full total of whatever other items that you have, all of them. If you're buying multiple cars, so we should get a total of all that. So just call this line total. Or full total doesn't mean total. I'll do sort of a formula here so that I don't have to do the calculations somewhere. I can just do it here, multiply by quantity. Why not getting it? There we go. Right. So now we are done with that. So the only thing that I need to do now is I need to add one more class that we called it data transfer object. So how we use it, or a DTO in short, is like, for instance, like billing. There are some information that you see this other item, it has a whole lot of fields. So if I want to show like an invoice, I might not want to show all these properties. There are certain fields that I want to show, as particularly in our shopping cart. So I don't want to go and pull this class to get all this field because we might get an error. So I'll just want to have something, a class or an object that can work as a bridge to get me the information that I want to display to a user instead of getting it. So it sits between your application and the source of your data. In this case, for us, will be a database, which is Azure database. So that is what I'm going to do. I'll put it inside of a model. This is a class there. And then I'll just call this cart item. So this will contain the fields that I want to show inside of a cart. Not much, only that. So I will need to see, I'll need to see the car ID, and then secondly, I will need a title which will have the make and the model of a car. So prop, and then this will be S3 title. And then I will need to get the price. And then also I'll need to get the quantity. So that is all that I need to be displayed to the shopping cart. Okay. So now, so remember, in order for you to get information to a shopping cart, you need to use sessions. So I'm going to create a class here that is called, we'll see what name can we give this guy. So, but for now, let me just go and create a folder where I'll be stored, because I'll use this as a service. I'll just right click and then new folder. And then we'll call this services. Okay. All right. So now, In ASP.NET Core, our session sessions, they can be used to only store like simple values, which could be strings or bytes. So in our application, what we did, we don't want to store such simple information as your string, as your byte. So we already created a list there inside of one of our class. Let me see, other item, other there, this one. So we want to see a whole list of all items. So what happens, because session does not understand complex object by itself, so we are going to use this helper class that I'm about to create now to convert, or in the actual word, it's called serialize, an object into a string. And then later on, we're going to deconvert, if that's a word, or deserialize it back to the original object so that it can be displayed. So there are two things here that we need to pay in mind. We're going to use, think of it as dictionary. We'll need a key and a value. So a key will be something like a card, right? And then a value will be something that we are storing. But you must also remember that a session only accepts text or binary. So if we want to store something complex, such as a list of books, notebooks, such a list of cars that we want to do, so we need to wrap this into a container of string first and also unwrap it out so that we can be able to show it back to the user. So what I'm going to do now is to create that helper class. And then I'm going to call this session extension. All right, so here you must bear with me because there will be a lot to talk about. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to change our class to be static class. So now I'm using static here because we don't need to create an object of this class. Remember, this will be used over and over. So we'll just use it as a toolbox, which will contain a set of tools or helper method that we can call directly to whenever we want to do our shopping cart. So that means that the method that you are going to create here should be static as well. So here's here's a few things that I need to do here. Number one is that I'm going to save or store any object into a session. So this method will be used to save a value. I just explained there at the top what would be a value. This is what we are storing into a user session. Could be the car and all these details that we want. And then we'll take a key like a label for a particular vehicle. And then the value once again will be what we actually save into that list of car items that I just showed, card item. So the session itself will again only, because it stores strings and bytes, so it will only allow strings. So what we can do here, we can turn the strings of bytes in a process that is called serialize into an object, and we're using that using JSON text. So that is what I want to do. That is the first thing that I need to do. So with that I just explained, let me create this method, and then that will be static void. And then what I'm going to say, I'm going to say set this object, right? And then this object just hold on, guys. Okay, I apologize for that. So we're saying set an object will be a type of T for now. You can call it anything, but it's just easier like that. Remember, we want to read an object. So I'm going to use the keyword this, and then I'll use the I session. Then I'll just give it a name. Remember, it accepts strings or bytes. So I accept a key, and then we're going to read whatever information that we're reading. We're going to change it into the object that we're getting. It is in a form of string, and whatever that it contains, there is a value, which is what we have there. So what we are going to do now is that we're going to have an arrow function, and then we say session dot set string. I'll explain this in a moment, what it does, and then this will be key. And then we change this into a JSON file. So that will be JSON. Remember, it doesn't understand all of these guys. So that will be JSON serialize. I might butcher the name. So serializer, but I need to go back and change this name. Serialize. And I'll just close there. There's one thing that we need to import because it's not recognizing that. So that will be using systems dot text dot JSON. Okay, should be fine now. And then what are we changing? The whole object with its information, which is stored there inside of this guy, which is a value. So what is happening here is that the JSON serializer, the serialized value, it turns out the object into a text. Simple. Let me just give you an example here of what is happening here. I'll just say example of what is happening with that statement. I'll just do it there. So, and then you have that. Let's say we have a shopping, a card ID. So that will be car ID. I'm using card and card ID like it's the same thing. And then that will be here. The value will be that, comma. Remember, it's what we define on what we need to do with this card item class that I did. Then that will be title. And then the title could be golf or whatever. Was it? Just showing you what is happening on the wood. And then that will be price. And then the price could be 250,000. And then quantity. Yeah, I need to move the curly colons outside. Could be what? That. Yeah, that. So that is what is happening. So now we have changed everything into a JSON file. Now our session can be able to recognize that. So the second thing that we need to do now is to read or get back an object from that session that we just had. So what we are going to do now, a couple of things. One, we are going to retrieve something from this session by its key and rebuild it into its original form. How are we going to do that? So it's going to read the string that is stored in that key, just like we've done at the top. And what will be the reason why we're doing like that? So the answer is if the string is found. We're going to convert that in a process that we call deserialize from. We're changing it back to a JSON file, to an object. Remember now, it is in a JSON. I'm busy holding my screen here like I'm pointing you. So what is happening here now is that this whole statement change that object into a JSON text file. So we're taking that and then we push it back into an object of type T. So if that is found, then if it's not found, we need to return a default value, which will be a null for this case. And then that's it. So you see that we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to go inside and say public static, and then a type of T. So I'm putting a question mark there to say that it could be null. Okay, and then we say, because I'm getting a value back, so I'll just call this get object instead of set. Object what of object type T. Okay, the same thing is by session like I've done. The only difference here is that I only need a key, string key. Just like we've done, arrow function, then we just say session. We don't need an a to do it the same way, because remember we said that if it finds it, then we are going to convert that into an object. But if we don't, then we are going to return a default value, which is none. So we must tread carefully here there, because we can make an error. So an arrow function that goes into a session, and then we say go get the string. You're getting it by what? By its key, which is what everything has been stored here. Everything that we've done, I'm busy pointing with my hand. And then we want to make sure that this is a string. And then we can call it JSON. So we're doing an if statement. If, this is a shortcut of if statement. If JSON serializer dot deserialize dot deserialize, what are we deserialize an object T. Here I'm passing the JSON file, so I'm telling it's a JSON file. If it serializes all of that and it's a JSON file, then we're going to convert the object, the JSON file back to an object. Else, return the default value, which will be null for now. All right, so you save this for me. So what just happened here? So the get object, we explained that it is a string, whatever, blah, blah. I think the area that I need to explain what it does, it's the whole class. So the session extension, which is the whole class, is act as a small translator that will help our application session to understand your complex object, which I just explained at the beginning. So when you give it something like a shopping cart, it will first turn it into a JSON file, which is a text file, before it saves it. And then when you ask that particular file back, remember it doesn't understand it, then it will just rebuild the original object from that particular text. So that is all for that section in a nutshell. So let's just continue with our project. So just want to make sure that we did everything that we need before we jump into the controllers. So what I'm not going to do is to write the views. I'll share this on Teams on our group. I'll just share the views so that you guys can go and plug them I refrain a lot in doing views because it takes time to do those ones. So, okay. Right. So now we're done with that. I'll save it. Then I'll just clean everything that we have. Save. Okay, so what is important now, let's go back to Azure portal. And then we'll go back to our database, not the server, our database. Please don't forget that. Not the server, our database. So I'll click my database. I want to go and grab a connection string here. So under settings, there is connection string. And then there's two of them. Grab the last one there, all of it. And then go back to your application. You go to app settings.json. So you replace everything that is there, all of it. And then you paste this. So you don't need to change anything except this part. You can see that it picked up my admin. I also need to supply the password that I wrote. So you'll highlight including the curly braces. So I'm going to stop sharing this and then put my password and then close this and then continue. Let me stop. Let me go and find my password. Okay. Then I'll just save it. Okay. Let me share. Okay. Back. You save the file and then I'll close it. I'm not going to open that one back again. All right, so let's do our controllers. Right, let's start with the first controller. We'll start with the catalog controller. So I'll just right click there and then I'll add controller. That will be an empty controller. So let's call this catalog. Catalog controller. Press enter. So just pass the very basic things that is needed. Need the name of our project, which is hi.models. We also need data. And then the last one, which is entity framework, will be Microsoft entity framework. Okay, so that is fine. And then now, just like we have done with the previous applications that we've been doing, so we are going to ask dependency injections to give us DB context so that we can be able to communicate with our database or to perform a query. So what I'm going to do here is to create a private field, private read only. Then I'll call this application DB context. Then I'll just call this DB underscore DB. Then I'll close. Okay, you know the drill. We need a constructor for this one. Just leave it like that for simplicity. And then now we have a get method here, which is this guy. That will show us all the cars. This is our catalog. So let's change this to an async method. So that will be async task. Okay, perfecto. So all we need here is to get a list of all of our cars. So for faster access, I'm going to use what we have not done before. It's a method. It's called as no tracking. So for faster reading, we can use that one because for this one, I don't need to edit any table in my database. I just want to get the information. So I'll show you this. We have not done this before. You can try it on your side. So let's call these cars. Normally we'll do it like this, but for faster retrieval, I'm not going to do that. So I'll just say await, typing into my database there await underscore DB, and then dot cars dot as no tracking. Then I'm going to format it to a list. Then lastly, I'll just pass this to this view. Perfect. And then the second thing that I'm going to do is that I'm showing all the list of the car, and then I also need to show the details of one car by the ID. This is what I selected to do. You can do this yourself, or just press tab there. Then I'll just remove everything that is within. I just want this public async action results, and then we're calling these details. Because I want to display a single car by the ID, I'm creating a parameter called ID. So first of all, I need to find the car by their ID. So just say var cars sign away, because I'm going into my database underscore DB dot the table cars dot find async, and then I'm getting it by the ID. Then always make sure that you have validation. If you don't find it, just give an error. Just leave it like that, but we can keep this neat. Then I can just put this in one line. So that should be fine. Then I'll just return the view, and then that will be the car. Then you save. Okay, so now I'm going to the card controller. So just say right click controller, add to controller, not car, card. Again, it's an empty one. So this will be card controller. Same packages that we imported that side. In fact, I'm just going to copy this. Paste it. The only thing is that if you remember correctly, some features are inside of our services in order for us to get a card. So I'll just go back there and say Microsoft, not Microsoft, the name of our application, high-value.services. Perfect. So again, the first thing, because these are sitting inside of a database, so I'll just copy those two, put them there. Okay, so need to change the name there to card controller, not catalog. All right, so now there is one area that I'm going to add here, and that area will be, I'm going to declare that property as a constant variable. So that will contain the key name that will be used to store the details of a car into a shopping cart so that we don't mistype it elsewhere. So that is important to do it like that. So just say private const. It will be a string, of course. I'll call this cart here. I'll take that. I'll call it card in capital letters. So let me add a comment here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So the next thing now is to show the current card items and a total, and I'll do it inside of this method. I will resume the index one, it's fine. So the first thing that I'm going to do in order to show that is that I'm going to load the card list that is stored inside of a session. If it doesn't exist yet, I'm going to create an empty list so that we don't come across an error. So we'll call these items. I'll type this myself. Thank you. HTTP context dot session dot get object. Then I'm passing a list. Because we said if it doesn't exist, we're going to create a list. And then I'm using card item. Then I'll just step out again. And then I'm going to use the card key that we just created. Don't want to mistype it. So just pass it there. And then just creating new list. Okay. All right. So now what we are doing now is that if we don't find information to populate our card, then we can just create we can create a list, but it will be empty. So, and that means that, so maybe I should add a comment there at the top and say, if card is empty, return an empty list. So we said if card is empty, return an empty list. What do you think does this part? So these two question mark, I think it's the first time that you guys are saying it. If I'm not mistaken, it does that. So I can't even pronounce what it's called this because I suck, but this is what it's called. It's called all. You can read this. I don't know what is that. Read that, operate. So what it does is that it provides a way to handle nullable types and provide a default value. So a default value that will be an empty list. That's it. That's what it does. And then now we're going to get a total for display and we're going to use view bag in order to do that. We say view bag total. So say items, and I'm using the sum. Just accept it without even seeing what it is. Using the sum, and then I'm using an arrow function. Say I goes into I dot price multiplied by quantity. Okay, that is fine. And then all I need to do now is to return items there. Perfect. Okay, within the same controller. So now, what I'm going to do now is to add 1 unit of a car with an ID number to the card. So I'm not sure why didn't it give me, so I'll take that, delete, get another one there, public async, and then we can call this, say add short sharp. And then we're going to read the car from a database, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to return an error. We have done that. So just move faster, come. I'm going to do it differently now. I'm going to use there's no tracking for fast retrieval, and then we'll say first for default async. Then I'm going to create an arrow function. So C goes to C. I'm getting an ID there, which must be equal to an ID that I just created at the top. Okay, if that's the no case, we return 4 error. And then we're going to load or create a card list from the session, just like we have done there at the top. I'm not going to explain that. Okay, if the line, which is what we created in our model classes, already exists, we're just going to increment the quantity, or otherwise we add a new one. The same thing that we have done. So we're just going to create a new variable, var found, and then we'll say items dot if items dot first dot default, and then we'll say I goes to I, and then we get the card ID. Okay, that's fine. And then if found is equal to null, we're going to say items dot add that will be the new card item. Then I'm creating a new object of this card item. We'll also have the card ID. Then I'll just assign the ID itself. Then a comma, the title, and then I'll use string interpolation here so I can control how I'm going to write this. So that will be, then I'll say car dot make, and then space, and then I'll say car that you can put this on a separate line, doesn't matter, model. Then I'm closing that. Then I'm getting the price. Then the price will be car dot, that should be price, and then comma, the last one is quantity. Then I can set this to one quantity. Then I can close this. If we find it, which is else, we're going to increment the quantity. And then we're going to save the updated list back to the session. Please do it. Nope. And then we're going to remember to tap into a session. We need to go via HTTP context dot settings dot sessions, not settings. And then we say set object part, which is a key, and then items. And then lastly, we're going to redirect this to our index. I save that. I want to see, guys, if we can scaffold this. No, let's do this and then we'll scaffold the cars for the manager when they add this. So we are not lazy. Okay, count controller. So we need a method now to remove. We only left with 2 methods here, so we can move on to the next one. Let's create another method. So that will be public action remove. It's fine. Then I'll just remove you guys. All right, in order to remove unique by an ID, again, let's go and grab through our session. So var items that we've done. And then we're going to do the same thing, find the matching order by card ID and remove it if it's present. So just say found, that is fine. And then if not found, then I'm just moving fast here. So if not found, if not null, if not null, then we go to the items there and then we say dot remove and then we remove it. And then we're going to update our session there and then we return to our index. Perfect. And then after that, we need to be able to clear our session. So that is public action. It's moving now. Then we tap into our session, we grab it by the card ID, and then we just remove it, we return to the index. Perfect. And then now, just going to spend a little bit time here. So this will be our shopping cart or the checkout simulation for a purchase. Remember, we said we don't need a real one. So we are going to persist an order plus the ordering items that we have. We don't need payments here for this stage. So we'll need a buyer name, the buyer email that will come from the form that the user will fill in. They can choose to leave this thing out because it's not compulsory. If you remember, we declare our model class. Because I want to present a form there, I'll use the post. And then now I can, okay, I'll remove all of this. I'm lazy to type the full method. So this will simulate my checkout. Okay, my checkout, I'll need buyer name, string, buyer image. Perfect. All right, so if the cart is empty, we have nothing to do, meaning that we're going to tap into our session. We'll call this item http://session.get object by the list cart item, and then we grab it, we set it to a default new list. Okay. Okay, if not items, then we're going to return. Here we typically create an order and no, I don't want that. So I'll add my own. If the cart, let's say create an order, before we do that, so we're just going to say if not items dot any, which is a method, and then I'm going to return redirect to index. Perfect. And then we're going to create an order and copy the cart items to order, the cart item to order items. Okay, it's fine. All right, so just say var order. Wouldn't want you. I'll create my own. So we're creating a new order. That's why I said I don't want you. That will be the new order that we are creating. And then this will be based on buyer name, step buyer name. And then that will be buyer name. Secondly, buyer email. And then that's it. That's it that we need there. And then now we need to be able to go and look to get the card ID, the quantity, and the unit price. So we're going to add that. So I'm just going to say for each, you know the drill. Var in items, you can give it any descriptive name. It's okay. So just say order dot items. Just say there, we don't need that. That's why we're getting an error. So all I need to do with the new order, I need a car ID, and then also the quantity. I'll need the unit price as well. I think I called it unit price. Yeah, which I'm not getting it. So let's go to our order and find out what we have called. Order item. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with card item there. Called it price. But I remember I called it. Let me just verify, guys. There, that is the unit price. That's the one that I want. So this is order item. This is my controller from there. And then should be able to see my models there. Let's go all the way down. Forgot to put a comma there. And that's why it's giving me an error. There we go. All right. So now we're going to compute or calculate the total so that the manager can be able to show it easily. So we have done this. We'll just get that one and then we save it to the database. Underscore db orders dot add to order, and then we do the await. That's what I want. And then after that, we're going to clear our session. So we can just say clear. Yeah, the card, that's fine. And then http.session.remove, that is fine. And then we can just add like a few tags that we want. So I'll rely on temp data. Whatever message that you want to pass there, you can just go done. And then I'll use my string interpolation. And then I can just write order, the number, I can just write it exactly as it is. And then we'll say order dot ID, because that represents the order number. Saved, something like that. Remember, this is just a simulation. Then lastly, we're going to redirect to a thank you page. So redirect, we're going to create a page that we'll call thank you. Then save this. And then going to do the last method, which is the thank you one. This will be empty. So there's nothing much there. Let's just do it nicely. We'll just close there. You can use an arrow function. And then we return there. That's it. Then you'll save this for me. And then now let's go into the manager controller. Okay. So I'm going to go to the controller that we did. Where's it cut? Copy everything that we just passed there. Then I'll just go there. Even if I don't need them, we'll see it as we go. So the only thing here is that we need authorization. So we just need, it comes from Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken. The ASP core dot authorization. No. Authorization. Then we'll need identity using Microsoft ASP dot identity. I'm going to lock this so that a manager can be able to do what I'm about to do. We don't want anyone to do this, so that's why I'm adding that. So at the beginning, just go and lock this so that it's only the manager that is allowed to perform everything that we have there. So we have a role called manager. So just lock it immediately. Just want to see, we need to close there. Perfect. And then the same thing that we have done, I'm not going to type all this again. Copy, paste it, and then I'll need a controller. We'll just do it CTOR. And then we're going to, before that, we will also need a property for listing the registered users, because remember the manager should be able to see who is registered in our application. So private read user manager, and then we can call this user manager. Yeah, that is menu. Sure, that. And then on my controller, I'll pass application DB, application user. But before we do that, we need application DB context. I hope I'll spell it right. And then that will be DB, comma. And then we just say underscore DB. So that's fine. Okay, that is dependency injection for our DB controller and user manager. Then now we need to list all orders from the newest one and also allow the manager to filter by email if it's provided. So let's change this method to an async one. So that will be async task. And then let's call this sales. Perfect. And then remember, we want to filter by email. So let's create a variable, which you must always remember can be nullable. So if the user has supplied it, then the manager will be able to use it to filter. So now let's just build a query that will include the order items and also the related information regarding the car that must be displayed. So we're just going to say var query, and then we're tapping into our database dot orders. Remember, this is coming from our orders. I'll move to the second line and say dot include, and I'll do my arrow function. Say O goes to O dot. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the items. Dot, and then include I goes to I dot car. Right, and then we are going to say, give me this as a queryable object. Okay. All right. So if a filter is supplied like the name, then we're going to apply it. So we're going to say if not string dot is null or white, space, checking the email part, and then query dot query query. It's not writing. Yeah, that is query. Yeah, I'm tired. Not query. Not where. Oh. Then I'll say O goes to O. Then get me the buyer's email. I can say not equals to null, because I want these to be true for both. And I'll say O dot buyer name, because we didn't supply. You can add the buyer name if you want, and then it must contain the email itself. And then just have to close. Okay, perfect. And then now we're going to execute the query. So just say var list equals to await. Await, then we'll say query dot order by descending. Then I'll say O goes to O dot ID. I hope I'll get it. There we go. My ID, and then I format these to a list dot list. List as sync. And yellow, that's a method. Perfect. And then we are going to keep the filter value for the text box page. And then we're going to use this inside of our views. So that will be view back dot filter. And then we're going to assign email. And then we're going to return our list. Okay, lastly, we're going to return a method for a list of users. So that will be public, the normal method, public action result. Then we can call these users. And then here we just declare, call these users. Then that, nothing much. Then we're going to save this. So now we're going to create another controller, but I'm going to scaffold this for cars, because this is the one that is going to allow the manager to add these cars. The only thing that will do is just tweak them there, not all of it. So I'll just go and say new scaffolded item. And then you'll go with this one, MVC controller with views, click add. And then the model class, we're basing this from a car. And DB context will be this one. And then we can call this cars controller. So that is fine. Going to click add. Okay, let's see if we'll go through. I always use this to judge if my application will execute. If it goes through, I know that it will work, but if it doesn't, I know that that's the same error that I'm going to get when I run it. There we go. So just go to cancel everything. I'm not going to write this one by one. It's going to take time. View, error list. Sorry. You don't even get an error. I suspect an error should be caused by, let's go to views, shared underscore login. Hope. So you find identity user role, change that to application user, and then you copy it, you change the second one as well, only this part, save it. Let's go, add scaffolded item, and then we try it again. We go for car, and then we go for that, we click add. Fingers crossed, because it's no longer referencing identity user, and that's the only area that I know identity user is still reference. Okay, so it's still crying. So it's saying that unable to resolve service for type Microsoft Entity Pro while attempting to activate. Okay, let's go back. We close that. Now the debugging part starts. So now let's find out what's the issue, because I've changed here. So I want to find out if there's an area where we have an issue. Okay, let's go to program.cs and see if they changed it all. And so I'm just checking everything there. Soon if I spot something that's not supposed to be there, I will let you know. Um, I feel like the biggest thing that might be causing this, it's not here. So now let me go in scaffold area. I suspect that is the one that is causing as well. So I know that it's referencing identity user somewhere. So right click area, add, then use scaffolded area. Then I'll go for identity, click add. Okay, so it's only this one that I want. Then I'll click. Okay, so that one is fine. So the reason that I added this is because I want to get the C# of this file. So the first thing, let's see, application user. Okay, that is a reference. Okay. It's there. It's the place as well. So just say, not sure if I did it as required as well. Let me just verify. Nope. I'll display name and then okay. There is another place where I need to change it. So give me a second. But this shouldn't cause an error now because I'm not even using it inside of my registration yet. I changed it. It would make sense to get that error. But hey, let's just see everything. If everything is fine, and then we'll go back. Okay, let me save this. We'll go back here. Ah, there you see? There, that's the issue there. That shouldn't be identity user. There should be identity role. Let me save that. Let's try to run our scaffolding. See, that's the beauty of scaffolding because I'm sure when you go and run this later on, you might get an error. So we're targeting car application, and then let's do it. Yay, it went in. Okay, let's see. Ah, there we go. It went in. Perfect. All right, so let's lock our friend here so that only a manager can be able to work here. We just authorize this, but not just authorized. Needs to be provided a role. We'll put equal sign and do that. I need data annotation, but it should be getting it automatically. That should be manager. Need to spell it exactly as it is. Ooh, cast control, cast control. It's not there. Okay. Thought it's already there. Okay, just want to confirm if we have everything that we need. Okay, so far so good. I don't see anything that we need to do. Just see if we have everything. Okay, so the only thing that I need to do now is to go and grab the views so that I can, okay, let me go and get them. Just I'll stop sharing. I remember I stored them somewhere, but I don't remember. So give me a second. I'll share this with you guys. Okay. I'm still looking for them. A lot of files here. I thought I shared them with you. I'll have to quickly generate them if I can't find them. Just plug the code to AI so we can quickly generate all the views. So let's see, maybe I'll get them. So maybe I used a notepad. Mm, no. Use no. Mm, statement no. Okay. A second, guys. Oh, okay, I found them. Just plugging them so I can put it the on Teams or announcement. But if I put it as announcement, the other groups won't get access to them. I'm putting them in a file now. It's a little bit long. That's why I didn't want to write this. Just finishing the views. Okay, we'll get the project back. All right, let me share. Okay, so let's minimize that. So this is what you'll get the file. So let's start with the folder for catalog. I'll just copy it, go to the views, right click, add, and I'll add the folder. So the first one, and then followed by /, that will be, this will be the name of the folder, and this would be the name of a file itself. So right click, add, and say view, empty, paste, and then you copy from here. We're gonna have the same issue that I had last time when I was doing this. Let's see. So from there, already paste. Then we change the name of this one. I valued as online. Okay, save it. So I'm just gonna open, see where it ends. It's a little bit longer. Go all the way. Then copy and copy. That's details. Which one did I do now? It seems like I did the same thing. Made a mistake. So catalog index, copy. Should be index. Just opening a pages there because I know it's going to give me a problem. See that. Don't like that. So I'll just cut this, remove everything there at the top, and I'll find them again so I can paste. And then this should be high. There you go. Copy. And then details. See where it ends. Okay, so that one is fine. I'll just remove this. And then I'll have another folder. That will be cut. And then see where it ends. And then we'll end there. Cut. Oh, forgot what I call this. Ctrl+Z, index. Cut. will be index, Ctrl paste. Everything it's high. Why not showing up? High. High value as online. Okay, perfect. And then now cut. Thank you. Sorry. Another view and add. Then cut. Just display thank you only. There's nothing much. And I'll just remove that. And we need manager and then sales. Add folder. And then right click. And then empty. And then that should be sales. And we see where it ends. Ends there. Copy. Cut. Then we paste. Will be high. High value. Always forget this name. Cars. Line. If. And then we need users. Visit start manager. No. Then we'll see where users end. It ends there. Cut. And then Control A, we paste. And then that should be high. Save. And then lastly, copy, cut this. And then I'll go to my layout. Insert there. Then I'll paste this. We need to fix these ones so that can look a little bit neat before we can run it. So I'm just gonna copy this and then I'll put it there. And then I'll just go there. The first one will be, remember this must mimic the controller, so I need to make sure that it matches. The first one will be cars, and then I thought it's okay as index, so I can just say manage cars. And then the second one, we'll just go to manager. And then what are we getting? We're getting sales. And then we can just call this sales. That will be manager. And then that will be users. So before we run our migration, we make sure that we don't miss anything, because this one is fine there. So just log some to ensure that the user does not access certain features there except if they are a manager. That's the idea. So, okay. All right. So let's run our migration. So I'm going to click tools, luggage. Remember, if I may go here on my database overview. I have no table. I have nothing here. Overview, there's nothing. There's no table, nothing whatsoever. So if everything works well, when we run our migration, it should go and add tables there. Migration. Let's call this online shopping. Okay, our build is failed, so let's find out why. So error list. We need to fix this. Cheating. And okay, I'm just gonna do it again. Yeah, the views, I didn't even verify all things there. Okay, now I can update. There's database. Okay, so everything is fine. Let's go back. And we're going to refresh there. This is the moment that makes you anxious because this is where you're supposed to see your tables. I'll go back to home and then I'll just go there. Should be able to see my tables somewhere. Data management. Just see, maybe they are hiding somewhere. Nope. Just go there. Okay, I'm not going to see this. I want to check my database and tables because it will be pointless. Sorry guys, I'm catching a little bit of flu cold. I've been sitting here for the longest time. Properties. Oh. I even forgot how I named my database. Maybe if I search it, I'll be able. Let me stop because I'm gonna show you guys my password. I'll go to web settings and I want to get the name of my database. Called it divelo underscore, and I'll close, get back Teams, share. Okay, and then I'll go back there and search. So something is not right because it's supposed to show our database there. Something's not right. Okay, maybe let me just sign in. I still remember the password. Not going to test it without going in. Let's go in. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yeah, but why didn't you sit in his rules? Top 1000. I didn't see it because I'm supposed to see manager there. One that shall never end. Is a looking Smiths there? Okay, let's go and run our application and see if we're gonna get it. Yeah, I know somewhere I made a mistake there. I might have written. Okay, let's sign in using manager's credentials. Oh, remember it's going to cast there, so it's pointing to cast. Remember we said that if it doesn't find anything, it must return an empty list, which is what we see there. So it makes sense. Just log in and then I'll just say I want to save. Okay. And I want to create. Let me get a BMW. Doesn't matter whichever it is. I'll grab the link there, copy image link, and I'll just nope there. Then I'll just paste it and I'll click create. So that is fine. Then so you can change this later on. So remove this, that's fine. Don't have a user at this stage, only myself, just the one that I did sit. So what we don't see, guys, here is that we don't see a catalog of cars. Because let me go back to home, and then I want to log out, and then I want to click this. You can see now it's not going to a catalog of cars. So we know that it works, but it's not going in. So we need to quickly fix that one. I need to go and link a page. Maybe let me do that. Let me register a user, normal user, and see. Okay. Remember, I switched off. There we go. So we have an error there. There. I suspected that we're going to get this error later on. Right, let's troubleshoot. Let me see how many minutes are we in with this one. 2 hours. Yeah, that's a lot. So let me stop this video and do another one quickly, because this is too long. Okay.